Hey everyone, I hope you are having a wonderful day so far. I am just dropping this special little clip into all the episodes. So, no matter what episode you're listening to, this is actually pretty current as of July 2024. I wanted to come on here and just say a big thank you to Earworthy because the Life Shift podcast was just named the best overall podcast of the year in the first Earworthy Independent Podcast Awards. And you've probably seen some articles written about the Life Shift podcast before, written by Earworthy. And now he is launching from his online publication, he is launching these yearly winners of independent podcast awards. And these are specifically for indie podcasters. We are those that wear all the hats. We create the show. Some people write the show. We're producers, sound engineers. We troubleshoot all the tech. We do any kind of research if we need to. We host the shows. We distribute the shows. We do all the things that relate to our shows because we love it. And it's so nice to see my name in a list with some other amazing podcasts like Multispective, which won Best Life Lessons Podcast. Salad with a Side of Fries won Best Health Podcast. Bippity Boppity Business won Best Business Advice Podcast. And there are so many more. And so I just want to come on here and say thank you to Earworthy for not only doing these awards every year and just honoring some of us indie podcasters that sometimes feel like we're just shouting into the void, but we're not. We're just doing what brings us joy, and hopefully through that work it brings other people joy. In my case, for the Life Shift, I hope that each episode finds the ears that needed to hear it the most so that they feel a little less alone in their circumstance. But also, Earworthy writes all these amazing publications pretty much weekly, every week, every weekday, I should say, where he writes on Blogger, Medium, Substack, Tumblr, Vocal, Many Stories, and for other places. And he really just highlights the independent podcasters. So thank you, Frank, for everything you do with Earworthy and for recognizing all of us in the first Earworthy Independent Podcast Awards. If you'd like to read more, please head to medium.com/EAR hyphen WORTHY. Thanks again and enjoy this episode. Hello, my friends. This is another preview to a bonus episode that we do over on the Patreon feed. And so with these bonus episodes, I like to go back to former guests and just catch up with them based on what we talked about on their show and see if things have changed a little bit. Maybe they had some feedback from people that they didn't expect, or maybe they just learned something new about themselves by sharing the story. And so in this clip, I wanted to share just a little piece of the latest conversation that I had. If you're interested in checking out the full bonus episodes, you can head over to the Patreon page, which is www.thelifeshiftpodcast.com/join. And there is a special tier that gets you ad-free episodes, early release episodes, and the bonus episodes. Come on over, check out the Patreon community, and see how you can support the show if you're interested. But without further ado, here's a preview of the latest bonus episode.
I think it was cool, right? It was cool to kind of see it from like an overhead point of view. I am a clinical hypnotherapist, and one of the modalities I do with people is called time techniques. And you kind of go into this hypnotic space and you go up above your timeline of your life and you get to rearrange things because everything is just a story. Like, spoiler alert, everything about us is just a story. We can rewrite those stories. And so it was kind of reminding me of that, right? It's like you get to float above your timeline and see their story in kind of this big chunk. And it's really cool to see that.
It's unique for you because this is like a lot of my guests maybe haven't told their story before, but your whole business is really because of your story. And so most people that probably listen to this episode have heard your story in some way. Did you get any feedback from anyone that was like kind of unique or stood out to you?
I mean, I definitely did because I think that it was the first time I told it in its entirety, like you said. And so I had a lot of people that were like, I didn't know these parts of the story, or like that made sense. Like once, kind of I put the whole thing together. And it's interesting telling my story too, because I always am very aware that I'm telling my story and not anybody else's story. And so, it's interesting to really see it like from the whole story from my perspective. And I think other people really enjoyed learning more about, like, I don't share, it's funny. I'm a very much an open book and I share everything on social media. Like I talk about
Same.
everything, except I don't always share parts of this particular story. And I don't know if it's a conscious thing because like I save it for podcasts or my book someday or whatever. I also think, I don't know, as public as I am, there's parts of the story that are really hard to talk about. And so it's good to have a safe space to do that.
There's a lot of hard parts of a lot of people's stories. And I think the more that we share ours, the more safe other people feel sharing theirs. Because, like you said, where all of our lives are a story, right? And it's not always going to be up at the top. We're not always going to be at these hills and these mountains and these wonderful things that we can celebrate. In fact, a lot of the time, or most of the time, we're on the way down trying to like figure out how to get back up. And I think those are the places in which we can relate to each other the most, right? And so, hopefully we start flipping this more so that not to say that we want to like tell everyone our dirty laundry and everything is terrible and the whole world is falling apart, which it may be, but I think those are the moments in which we can relate to each other the most and then find hope when one of us or a couple of us start to find our way back up.
100%. You have to hear other people's stories to know that you can make it through your own
Yeah.
story too. Yeah.